Welcome everyone to our WaveMakers webinar, What Kind of Imposter Are You? And today we'll be speaking about imposter syndrome and how to combat it. But before we get started, I want to ask all of you, from where are you dialing in? So for me, it's Berlin, but just drop your location in the chat so we'll see how international we are tonight. So I see Slovenia, Canada, Italy, Tel Aviv, Senegal. Okay, looks like we have many different locations, so I'm excited to get started. And I told you today everything is about imposter syndrome. I want to start by saying that we only have one imposter in the room today, and that imposter is Stephanie's dog. So Stephanie's our guest speaker today, and this is her dog, Oscar. And I would dare to say that Oscar is the only real imposter today, because per definition, an imposter is a person or a dog who pretends to be someone else in order to deceive others, especially for fraudulent gain. So I don't know what was on Oscar's mind, probably snacks or something, but I'm sure that he is the only real imposter, and everyone else, and I think there might be many of you today, experiences imposter syndrome, and that is a different thing. So in general, we say that 70% or even more of people experience signs and symptoms of imposter syndrome. And we are no strangers to it either. That's why we decided to host the session today, and really happy also that you are joining to learn more about it. So imposter syndrome means that you are doubting your abilities and feeling like a fraud. So it doesn't mean you are a fraud, but you feel like one, and that's a big difference. And it sometimes looks like this. So you can actually be a very accomplished, talented, intelligent person that has achieved a lot or is on their way to achieving a lot. But when you look into the mirror, you see something else. So you see all the confusion, everything that is not going well, everything that is imperfect about you. You're doubting yourself, you're doubting your abilities, and you see an imposter, although you are not. So my question to you, and you can raise your hand, who of you has experienced signs or symptoms of the imposter syndrome? You can just use an emoji, or if you have your video on, your real hands. So I'm seeing some hands already. And that's probably also exactly the reason why you are in the room today. All right. And you saw I was also raising my hand, and I think that's a good moment to introduce myself. My name is Katja. I'm a Berlin-based entrepreneur and the founder of WaveMakers. So I spent roughly 10 years working in the corporate world in larger organizations, and then changed my career in 2018 into the startup space. So that's when I first founded a design studio, Human Deluxe, then later raised capital for WaveMakers. And now we are, from last year, finalists in the Digital Female Leader Award. And this year, just as of a few weeks, finalists in the Tech Awards 2022. So many great achievements with WaveMakers, but also that doesn't protect me, for example, from imposter syndrome, rather the opposite. And I want to share with you the very first moment when I came across imposter syndrome. And that was in 2009. So I was 19 years old, and I received an email. I'm so happy I found this email, because these are great memories, with an offer to accept a position as management trainee in wholesale and foreign trade, which would make me move to Hong Kong and go to business college there. And I was super excited, but I also thought, they must have made a mistake, right? So I was just graduating from high school. I didn't have any work experience. My only work experience was 2 weeks at the local photographer. Beyond that, I had never really left Germany, only 2 other European destinations for beach vacations, but I had never left Europe at all. And also, I felt totally not ready for such a big step. I had the guts to apply, but I would have never thought that they would actually accept me, right? And these are the moments where we experience, or where I experienced for the very first time, imposter syndrome, thinking, wow, this can't be real. They must have mixed something up here. And then I progressed throughout my career. As I told you, different organizations, startups, corporates, many different steps, many different countries. And I kept experiencing the imposter syndrome. It kept coming back. And even recently, when I founded WaveMakers officially, so when I was at the notary office, I had again an imposter moment. So what happened there, and I trust that most of you won't speak German, so I'm happy to translate the most important aspects. This is what the notary read out, what I had to officially confirm, and he gendered me correctly, so as a woman, but the whole protocol was addressed to men. So I had to pretend to be that businessman and make all the signatures being referred to as a male. And this was one of the moments where I saw myself actually confident and having achieved a lot in the recent years, but suddenly being this little girl again, and they're giggling, feeling like something is going wrong. I'm not a businessman. You were calling me a male. I'm not a male. I'm not a businessman. Something is wrong here. So as you see, there can be many reasons for us to experience imposter syndrome. Sometimes it's our own insecurities. Sometimes it's external factors that make us feel uncomfortable. But all of these are examples of imposter syndrome in our daily lives, and they're normal. What is the actual problem is that these imposter thoughts, they actually translate into feelings and behaviors. So I might think I am an imposter, and then I feel also like an imposter, and I end up acting like an imposter as well, although I have no reason to do so because I'm perfectly in the right place, I'm perfectly fine. But these are some of the real life implications that imposter syndrome can have. And we collected a few headlines for you as well. So we already spoke about 70% or even more of all people are experiencing imposter syndrome. Researchers are also investigating the link between imposter syndrome and burnout. There are a lot of structural problems anyways, right? In managers undervaluing, for example, women's potential, costing them promotions. We have a pay gap, not only for women, also for ethnic minorities. Women-led startups receive less funding, and so on and so forth. So a confidence gap and experiencing imposter syndrome is really not what we need. And that's why we decided to address it here. And we are also addressing it at WaveMakers, where it's our mission to empower diverse, authentic leaders and leaders to be. So this is our work at WaveMakers, and we help people feel less like imposters and more like the authentic leaders that they could actually be. And that's when I want to invite Stephanie Horwitz-Ruveni to join me and share 3 tips about overcoming imposter syndrome. Steph is an expert that we've been working with for so long already, and also the host of an amazing podcast, highly recommended. It's called What Should I Do With My Life? And I'm really excited to listen to your tips against imposter syndrome.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. This is really fun. I feel like from the minute Katya and I really started talking, imposter syndrome was a main topic. Oscar, do you want to say hi? The imposter's here. He's not wearing his outfit, but he's at my feet. So maybe we'll bring him up for a little, we'll just let him say hello. But in a nutshell, I'll introduce myself very briefly. This is Oscar as he is, and he showed up as he is today without his Rick and Morty wig and beautiful hat. And that's how we encourage all of you to show up. So he is an authentic leader. And I'd love to just tell you a bit about myself. So Oscar is down. My name's Steph. I'm the creator and host of What Should I Do With My Life podcast, which hashes out the topic of imposter syndrome just a little bit. As the name suggests, the point of the podcast is to build community around the fact that none of us know what we're doing. We're all trying to figure it out. So getting different people who've led very interesting lives and non-linear career paths, who are bopping and doing all different kinds of things to have real talk. I also work for SAPIO, which is SAP's innovation division, focusing on startup engagement and partnerships with startups. And I'm trying to figure it out. And I have dealt with imposter syndrome and deal with it all the time. And I think for me, and I'm curious to hear about you all, if you want to pop in the chat, I think I find for me in the most recent years, the place I feel the most like an imposter is I feel like I'm a generalist and kind of a jack of all trades, which has proven to be, it is a good asset for a team. And for whatever reason, like Katya just introduced me as an expert. And it's like, what? Like an expert on what? I feel like, yeah, I do some marketing, I do some biz dev stuff, I do podcasting, I do kind of a bunch of things. I don't feel like an expert in one thing. And so for me, that's kind of, as of recent, like my sore spot with imposter syndrome, where I feel like I'm not an expert, but maybe I don't need to be an expert, but that's a whole other thing. So I'm not sharing with you my 3 tips today. I'm actually sharing with you today 3 tips from 3 amazing guests that have been on What Should I Do With My Life? Okay. And the best part is these are 3 super successful people who are killing it in every regard. You look at them and you're like, oh my God, they're amazing. And then, oh, what do you know? They're also dealing with imposter syndrome. And, they're dealing with this, as Katya said before, over 70% of us are dealing with it. So whether or not we admit it, this is something that a lot of us are dealing with. So let's just dive in. I'm going to tell you a bit about these amazing people and share their awesome tips. So our first amazing guest I had on the show, her name's Erica Davis. And I'm going to give a bit of background on Erica before I dive into her tip. So Erica is a multi-hyphenate for sure, and she is a former professional basketball player. She's currently a marketing leading specialist at SAP, killing it. Okay, Erica, it's like, oh my God, Erica, amazing. And when we spoke about imposter syndrome, one of the best pieces of advice she gave, which is something I try to use, is to take the emotional out of the equation and ask yourself, what are the facts? And what do I mean? What does Erica really mean by what are the facts? You made a fundraiser and you raised $1,000. That's a fact. You brought in X amount of customers last month. That's a fact. You got 3 positive emails this past week on feedback from the event you put on, that it was great. That's a fact. That's not subjective. That's someone else's feedback. That's data. That's numbers. That's things you can really look at that you can't really argue. And I thought that was such good advice, because so many of us are in the emotional and in our heads when it comes to the imposter syndrome, and I'm not good enough, or they're going to come on to me and see that, not come on to me. They're going to, what's the word I'm looking for? They're going to, who knows? They're going to get on, like, do you know what I'm saying? They're gonna, it's not coming to me today. They're gonna figure me out basically and see me as an imposter. So I love this idea. Sorry, it took me a few minutes to get my words. I love this. Look at the facts. Look at the facts. Separate yourself and your emotions from it. Look at the facts. Realize you're a fraud. Absolutely, Gabrielle. Thank you very much. So that's Erica's advice. And I think we're ready to move on to tip number 2. This is Vana. Vana is also a multi-hyphenate. He is a branding, retail, fashion, marketing, travel, photography, a man of many, many hats and many, many talents. And he's currently the owner of a store called Dorsu. It's an ethical garment business in Cambodia. Again, you look at this guy and you're just like, oh my God, like what a guy, what success, what a story, what confidence, what talent. And when he got a job at a certain point to open up like a retail DPS in Cambodia. And he had no experience in doing it. He basically landed this dream job. They approached him. And I said, like, were you freaking out about this? Weren't you scared they were going to figure you out? And how did you go into this new job? And his attitude, which I really like this tip number 2 for going into new jobs, is you need to go into this new situation, knowing what you got, knowing what you know, do a little inventory before, do a little homework. All right, what are my skills? What have I accomplished? Know what you know, but be absolutely ready to learn. Be absolutely ready to not know a lot. And guess what? There's nothing wrong with that. You're new to this job. The first few months are normally just figuring out what the heck is going on around you. No one expects you to suddenly know. So I love this attitude. I think it's really realistic of knowing what you got and feeling good about it, and being very aware and open that there's a lot you don't know and you're there and ready to learn. So that's tip number 2 from Vana. I love it. Our last tip number 3 is from Noah Matz. And Noah is, again, all the things, okay? She's an operating partner at a venture capital fund here in Tel Aviv. She is a startup psychologist. She started her own business. Another one who's unbelievable and clearly extremely successful and an amazing person. And Noah's advice when we're feeling imposter syndrome and we're feeling insecure, unsure, or who the heck do I think I am to be doing this, is exactly that. It's doing a mental switch to embrace the who the hell do you think you are? And let's just break that down a little bit. So Noah is a startup psychologist. She told me she had never heard of a startup psychologist before. She gave herself that job title. And I said to her, didn't you feel impostery when you gave yourself a job title and then you were maybe the only woman in a room full of white men, VCs, telling them that you're a startup psychologist and they don't know what that is, and you gave that job title? And she said, but that's what I am, and that's what I do. And I had to embrace, hey, that's what it is. I'm stepping into it. And it also goes really nicely with the fact that Noah works so closely with startups. So if we think about it, I think in the States, startups have like a 2% chance of success. And in Tel Aviv, and where Noah's working, she's working with all these startups. And who are startups and who are startup founders? They're basically people who think, who the hell, like they have to think, who the hell am I to just think I'm going to succeed and raise this money and hire these people and quit my comfy job to start a venture that has a very small chance of succeeding. It's this, in Hebrew, it's chutzpah. It's like this gutsy attitude. And I think it's so amazing when it comes to imposter syndrome, because you can see all these people are just like us, but they have the unicorns. They have the big startups that are changing the world and disrupting and making such a big impact and difference for us. So if we can embrace their attitude of like, well, why not me? Well, yeah, who the heck do I think I am? Well, I'm Stephanie and I'm this and I'm that. And you know what? Let's go. Look at the impact those kind of people are having on the world. So I really love this attitude. And really, just to summarize, everyone, these are shifts in attitude. These are ways we think about ourselves in these situations. It does not happen overnight, but it's something that slowly we can work into. And I find myself, especially using Erica's tips, look at the facts. If I'm feeling like, oh, they're gonna, find out this, that, whatever. Okay, wait, no, this happened and I got feedback on that. And I did X amount of blogs and X amount of episodes and X amount of whatever. I love that. So those are the 3 tips from 3 amazing guests who we had on What Should I Do With My Life? And I hope that this was helpful and valuable. And I am dealing with it myself. And I'm always down to chat about it and brainstorm. And I'm really happy this session is happening. I think it's very relevant for all of us. So thank you, WaveMakers, for having me. And that's it from my end.
Thank you, Steph. Really insightful. And I also love how you said this is a shift in mindset or attitude and it won't happen overnight. So I wanted to ask everyone who's in our audience today to take a mental note, like was there, because we heard now of all these successful, inspiring people who also face imposter syndrome and who came up with their own strategies of dealing with it. What is your key takeaway so far? Like something that could also work for you or that you would actually like to give a try tomorrow or the day after, so you won't forget about it. And I'm opening the chat to see what you come up with. All right, so I see Gabriella's writing, I love how most of these people actually had amazing backgrounds, like ex-basketball player. Take risks and be confident in yourself. And even these successful people, they felt like they needed to prove themselves even more. Marianne is writing, who the hell do you think I am? that was a powerful one. Ishan, how to win over ourselves. A very good shift in perspective also. Hell yes, create your own job title. That was amazing. All right, so keep making a couple of mental notes, and I hope you'll be able to make even more towards the end of the session. But I think we've already made an important point here that many people are experiencing imposter syndrome. And also many of the people that we look up to and learn from are also experiencing it. And there are many different strategies that we can learn. We came up with some additional tips from a WaveMakers perspective, because at WaveMakers, we have been working with hundreds of people that are growing into leadership, that are taking ownership of their lives, of their careers. And we've seen 4 common types of imposter syndrome that kept coming back. So a little bit of context, I shared already in the beginning about WaveMakers that we empower diverse, authentic leaders and leaders to be. I didn't share with you how we're doing that. So we do it by, first of all, helping you to rediscover your own potential. And then secondly, upskilling to create tangible change in your life and in your career. So we are doing that through not only daily content that probably all of you have seen, and also is the reason why many of you are here today on social media, but also open events like the Imposter Syndrome event today, and also our 6-week leadership program. And here we've seen people from 30 different countries already go through a process of, as we call it, leading from the inside out, go through different modules where we are teaching different skills. And we found one module to be a real game changer when it comes to imposter syndrome, when it comes to self-doubt, insecurities, and so on. And it's happening in week number 2. And we want to share some of the findings with you here in this session as well. So we talked again before about the danger of these imposter thoughts, right? Because thoughts become feelings, become behaviors. And this is basically when many people, also many of the emerging leaders that we're working with, are basically standing in their own way and are sabotaging their own happiness, success, well-being. So self-sabotage, it's when we hinder our own success and well-being by undermining our actual goals or values. And this is what we want to prevent. So imposter syndrome is real, many people are facing it, but it's really what you make out of it and how you deal with it, if you let it dictate your life and your career or not. And this is where we came up with a small fun game for you as well. I already mentioned the 4 different types of imposters, and they are all linked to some of our team members as well in one way or another. So many of you know us already or are following us for quite some time. So you will know Anya, Vaida, Gabby, and I. And you can make some guesses in the chat as I'm walking you through these different types, who is who. And feel free to also let us know which one is you, because I'm sure that you can also identify with one or another. And knowing your type is really important because it also helps you come up with some tailored strategies that help you personally overcome imposter syndrome. So with that, I would say, let's go and let's start with imposter type number 1. It's the overachiever. So as the overachiever, you believe that you must be the hardest worker and always reach the top, the highest level of achievement possible, because if you don't, others will realize that you're actually a fraud. So if you have any guesses, you can use the chat already to let us know, and we will check how well you know the WaveMakers team already. And also, if this goes for you, I would also love to see some hands, because that's also a proven concept of like tackling imposter syndrome is admitting it and being vulnerable, right? Because you're not the only one. So I'm seeing I'm seeing the first guesses or not. But if you are the overachiever or you recognize some characteristics of the overachiever, there are a few tips that we want to share with you as well. So first of all, stop, pause for a moment and look back also at how far you have come, because the overachiever is usually a person that has come a long way, and there is a lot to look back at. And also look at the facts, as Stephanie was saying earlier. and celebrate even the smallest achievement, because from someone else's perspective, they might be massive achievements actually, and take a break at times. And I see Stephanie thinks it's me, so maybe not. And then we have type number 2, to make it a little bit more difficult for you, Steph. It's the perfectionist. So as the perfectionist, you tend to believe that you could have done better unless you were absolutely perfect, which you are never. So your perfectionistic traits make you believe that you're not as good as others think, and that causes the risk that they might find out that you're a fraud eventually, right? So also, if you have some of these characteristics, if that sounds familiar, we have a few tips for you that come from the WaveMakers team, from unnamed members of the WaveMakers team, which is to celebrate your ability to see the smallest details. That's what makes you a perfectionist. That's also what is driving your success. And there's also a positive side to it, right? Then it's also for you to acknowledge that you are a hard worker who cares a lot about quality, who cares a lot about high standards, and for you to use your perfectionist traits to work for you and not against you. So kind of befriend with the perfectionist imposter part of you. And this is when we'll move to type number 3. Type number 3, also inspired by a WaveMakers team member, so you can keep guessing in the chat. It's the special one. So this imposter type, deep down, you don't believe or feel like you're good enough as you are, never good enough, even though you have an amazing personality, skills, experience, whatever it is, but you feel like you won't be appreciated for it. So if this is something that sometimes happens to you, we ask you to celebrate your uniqueness, because being unique and different can also be a superpower. Accept all your wonderful qualities and also pay it forward, motivate others to show their true colors. So you also learn to appreciate the uniqueness and the differences, not only in others, but also in yourself. This is the special one that is seeking belonging. And now we move to type number 4, the humble one. So also here, there are different perspectives, right? Steph mentioned it in the beginning. When it comes to being humble, it can be healthy and it can be unhealthy. But the humble imposter type, if that sounds familiar, you minimize frequently your achievements or your work. This comes from a deep belief that you aren't that special or successful to begin with. And what you need to do in those situations is acknowledge the hard work that you put into something. So no, you were not just lucky. No, it wasn't all the team that did it. There was work that you put into it that made it successful. So we want you to start owning your successes and also celebrate your achievements. So many of us are, of course, also a mix of the different ones. And if you want to dive into some of the scenarios that we have prepared for you, there's a quiz on the WaveMakers website. You will see the link pop up. And you can open it now in a new tab, take the quiz later when you have 3 or 4 minutes for it. We have prepared different scenarios that help you identify your type of imposter syndrome. And then we'll also share not only who the mysterious WaveMakers team member is, that might be your partner in crime there, but also some tailored tips in terms of do's and don'ts that can help you overcome and find your own way of overcoming imposter syndrome. And there is one universal tip that goes for all of us, because imposter syndrome can only exist if we make this unfair comparison between others who are legitimate and ourselves, the imposters. So it can look somewhat like this. Others, they are legitimate because they seem confident, certain, without any errors, always calm, everything is normal. But me, I'm the imposter because I doubt myself. I get anxious. I make all these mistakes. lose my temper, have weird thoughts, the list goes on, right? So everyone who suffers from imposter syndrome only suffers from it because somewhere there is this unfair comparison that makes you an imposter and others not. And this is where we want to challenge you next time that you are making this unfair comparison to actually call it out in exactly those moments and remind yourself that you know yourself from the inside with all of your confusing thoughts and everything that is not going according to plan and everything that is not ready yet and where you just feel lucky to be somewhere and so on. But you know others only from the outside. And also the people around you, they only see you from the outside. And this is something that we really want you to take away from today's session, to be aware of that. You know yourself from the inside, but you know others only from the outside. And especially in the professional world, many people are wearing the mask of success, be it in the office or on LinkedIn. Everyone looks perfect, but you don't know them from the inside, right? And everyone or many of them might have their own imposter thoughts and fight their own battles. And this can also help you feel less like an imposter, which is an unfair judgment in the first place. So as we said earlier, thoughts create feelings, create behaviors. So it's really, really important to disrupt this and shake it up. So you can also add some positive and fair fact-based thoughts to the mix and not stand in your own way. So this is basically the reframing strategy that can help you go from feeling like an imposter to stepping into your power and also embracing the authentic leader inside of you that we at WaveMakers believe all of you have. And I'm also going to share a bit of my own story here. So for me, it was always from an imposter syndrome point of view, it was always me being my biggest critic. So telling myself things like be silent, you don't know anything about, for example, technology, you don't have a technical degree, or you are just lucky to be in this position because the manager liked you, and so on and so forth. But also making those unfair comparisons, right? So for example, comparing myself with peers that all went to Ivy League schools and me just seeing that I didn't go to that school and making this comparison, or even changing things about myself in order to fit in, which only makes the imposter experience more extreme. And eventually also sabotaging my success by minimizing accomplishments, saying like, hey, it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't that much work actually after nights and weekends working on things. Or also not asking for a promotion, right? Because if we don't believe in our own value or the value of our work, how can others believe in it? And these are some of the moments when thoughts become also actions and have real life consequences for our life and for our career. And this happened to me. And now the drum roll. I also want to share the more positive side and show you that it's possible to reframe and also to unhook from some of these aspects. So for me, the authentic leader in me is, for example, extremely self-aware. So I have learned to really recognize and embrace my unique qualities. So for me, it's my courage, it's my empathy, it's also me about being extremely curious. So these are the qualities that were with me my entire life that have brought me to where I am today, and that I trust that they will always be with me and that they make me unique. But then also being aware of my weaknesses, right? Of my limitations and also of my emotions. So really looking at it as a whole, because everyone has them. It's just a matter of how you deal with them. And then the second part is me as an authentic leader to have clarity. So authentic leader, it's not a job title. You can have it and you don't have to run a startup for it. You can do it in any position. But for me, it's to have clarity. I know where I want to be. I know where I am today. I'm honest about that. And I also critically assess my environment. And when something is misaligned, I call it out and I create a change. I make a change so it's aligned again. And as an authentic leader, I'm also confident. I stand up for myself and I also take the stage. It doesn't come natural to me, but I like to make my voice heard. I like to share my own story with people like you because I know that it matters. And this is something that I want to encourage all of you to do as well. Having said that, I believe that you have your own unique qualities, right? So you can follow a similar formula, but your starting point will be a different one because you have your own qualities, you are your own person. So you can find your own way of being self-aware, gaining confidence, gaining clarity. These are the three big pillars that we follow at WaveMakers and also in our WaveMakers program. But these are also the topics that I'm asking all of you to prioritize because they really help you step into your power. And I'm going to show you what that can look like. So we have a few stories that we want to share with you of some of the people that we worked with that can show you what it looks like to step into your power and to become that authentic leader. So here's, for example, Victoria, who shared with us that the WaveMakers experience, it was kind of a wake-up call for her, that the only thing holding her back was actually herself. And maybe after today's session, that also rings a bell for some people. It certainly does for me. But after realizing this, I started to look for job opportunities in a completely new field, applying without any experience in that space, and got a new job offer. So here you see that also positive thoughts can create positive feelings and positive actions and positive real life results, right? And the same goes for Yash. So Yash shared with us, I wasn't even sure if I should join at first because I didn't have the financial resources, but I found out so much about myself, including what I could get paid for. So a lot of changes happened for him after the WaveMakers program. There was a flow, a momentum, and he even landed his dream job. So Yash is now program manager at the Berlin Innovation Agency, which is also a massive change and something to be super proud of. And we have here the story of Laura Passos. So she said that the main reason why she joined the WaveMakers program was to build confidence, to apply to a PhD program in the US. So Laura is based in Brazil. And she wrote this message in the moment that she received the acceptance letter, because she wanted to let us know that the program really helped her achieve that. So again, it's a mindset thing that is translating into like tangible change in people's lives, which is incredible to see. And we believe that also all of you here in this session today are just 6 steps away from making waves. And when we say make waves, that means to step into your power, to discover the leader inside of you, and to really have this new attitude and mindset. And today we drilled a lot into the insecurities topic, because I said in our WaveMakers program, it's such a game changer because it really helps people confront where they are sometimes playing small or in their own way, and unblocking that is just super powerful. So this is a very important spot that I hope we could share some important learnings with you today. But I also want to share a little bit more about the other steps that are involved in the WaveMakers method. So you can either apply them by yourself in your current support system and environment, or also together with the WaveMakers team. So I'm going to invite you to do that at the end of the session. So what is the other magic that is happening in those steps? So basically the first 3 steps of the method are focused on personality, insecurities, and mindfulness. So everything that helps you discover or rediscover your potential that sometimes gets lost in everyday busy lives. So we want you here to anchor your leadership development around that. To then, in the second part, so step 4, 5, 6, to create actual change in your life and in your career by being aware of all the biases around you. Like I shared an example with you in the beginning of the session, right? The notary story, where there was a bias already in the situation and that was causing an insecurity and an imposter syndrome. So situations like that, how to communicate effectively, and also how to make your voice heard, focus on image and exposure, is what we're doing in step 4, 5, and 6. And especially this very last step, because I spoke about the voice, is extremely important. And this is where I want to share another super powerful model with you that we're also using in the program, and that I want you to have access to now, because it's kind of the other side of the imposter coin. And this side is how is even success defined, or what makes a person successful? And I told you about me earlier today that I'm extremely hardworking, courageous, And I like to think that it's a lot about performance, but there's a spoiler alert that it's not only performance, it's also image and exposure. So performance is just the quality of the work that we deliver, right? The results that we deliver, but image is actually also a personal brand. How do other people look at us? Are we perceived as authentic? Are we perceived as credible? And exposure is the level of visibility that we have. So do people actually see our work? Do they see us? Do they see what we achieve? And it's not 30% each. The division is a little bit different, but I want you to make a guess again in the chat. So you can just type in the chat, how important do you think performance is for professional success according to the pie model? And I see Anya is typing 60%, 30%. Any other guesses? 70, 45, 70. Okay, it's moving into the wrong direction. So now let me correct. So according to this model that was developed by Harvey Coleman, it is actually 10% performance and 90% image and exposure. And this is where I want you to also critically reflect to what extent are you putting yourself out there? Are you proudly speaking about your accomplishments? Are you asking for the promotion? Are you making change happen? And Stephanie shared some extremely inspiring examples in the beginning about even coming up with your own job title, whatever feels authentic to you, but are you really doing it at the moment? And for many people, the answer is no, especially if they face imposter syndrome. And that's why for us, it's very important at this sixth and final step of the WaveMakers method to help you identify your own ways, your authentic way of using your voice and advocating for yourself, not in a way where you feel you're putting on this imposter mask that will then throw you back in the insecurities part, but really anchor it around your unique personality, your qualities, what makes you unique as a human and as a professional. So to summarize, you are just 6 steps away from making waves, and whatever your dream may be, you can accomplish it by finding your own leadership power, learning to turn self-doubt, healthy self-doubt, into positive motivation, investing your energy mindfully. You don't have to be everything to everyone. You have to choose, and you have to double down on achieving that by then critically assessing your environment, also shaping your environment, improving your communication, and putting yourself out there even more and with authenticity. Those are the 6 steps that we follow at WaveMakers and that we want you also to remember. So take a screenshot, take a note, and double down on this. And as I told you in the beginning, I also invite you to do it together with us, together with the WaveMakers team. So we have designed the 6-week program, the WaveMakers program, as a guided leadership journey for those of you who are growth-oriented professionals who really want to step into their power and have that extra guidance on the way. So you already heard a few stories. Here are some more related to leadership. So Melanie said, for example, that WaveMakers helped her realize her potential and that the potential to be a leader is in everyone. So leaders can be quiet, loud, vulnerable, extroverted, anything and anyone. And Gerhard also pointed out that leading is not just about managing people. So you don't have to be a people manager to be a leader or the other way around. So WaveMakers helped him discover more about himself and inspire him to share his message with the world and lead by example. Or Deepika, who said that she actually got in touch or was aware of the imposter syndrome for the very first time in the WaveMakers program. So there, with today's webinar, you're already a few steps ahead because we shared this part of our curriculum with you already. But obviously, it was a very powerful experience for her to be in a room with 30 other individuals that all admit to feel like imposters, and were exchanging this experience and also exchanging strategies to overcome it. So you already know the method that we are applying at WaveMakers, leading from the inside out. These 6 topics, these 6 steps are addressed in 6 weeks of our program. And what you don't know yet is that the next program is happening soon. So on the 27th of October, we're kicking off the next cohort of the WaveMakers program. It will take 6 weeks, again, fully online. So you can dial in from anywhere around the world. All you need is 4 to 6 hours per week to dedicate to your personal and professional growth. So you don't have to quit your job or quit your job yet. You can do it next to your day job, attend the live sessions, be part of the program. And I'm going to share a little bit more with you how it works. So as I told you, it's a guided journey. So that means specifically you'll be guided by the WaveMakers team, by Vaida, Anya, and myself. And you will also learn from inspiring experts like Malcolm Larry, who's a TEDx host from Stockholm, or Kaveh Gulambo, who's an expert for diversity and inclusion. Most importantly, you won't go through this experience alone. So WaveMakers is not an e-learning, but you will be part of a community where you apply what you learn together with other like-minded people from all over the world. And it works like this. So you get access to 15 live sessions in total that are spread over a period of 6 weeks. It includes group coachings, community sessions, but also expert sessions. And all of these sessions have a value of 2,350 euros that you get access to by booking the WaveMakers program. But that's not everything. You also get access to all the amazing people, of course. So we're connected on Slack 24/7. You get practical tools, coaching groups, and safe space, because it's so important that it's not just knowledge transfer, but you get to experience the content and actually create mini changes every step on the way. That will create a big change in your life and in your career over a period of 6 weeks, right? So you don't just get the certificate towards the end, but you really get this tangible outcome for yourself, which can be new career opportunities, but also this powerful support network that you are building for yourself that will also last beyond the 6 weeks of the program. And one thing that no one can ever take away from you again, which is a leadership mindset, that again, you can apply not only in the context of managing other people. No, that's not leadership. Leadership is for you to take ownership of your life and of your career. And this mindset doesn't only help you in moments of imposter syndrome, but in all challenges that you're encountering in your career, that you can tap back into and count on yourself because you learn it and you practice it so intensely. So if this sounds like something you want to be part of, we have 2 different booking options. One is Leadership Premium for 1,700 euros. The other one is Leadership Essential. That is 40% less expensive, so 999. And you can check all the details on our website to figure out what is the right plan for you, which payment plan works for you, what is realistic. One thing that we want to tell you, just this group of our Imposter Syndrome workshop today, is that we have an additional gift. So for all of you that are applying to join the October and November cohort of the WaveMakers program, you will get an additional small gift from us. And this gift is our personal branding guide, Authentically Visible, because we talked so much today also about the importance of visibility, of personal branding, but also staying true to who you are, right? And not feeling like an imposter. So this is a really powerful toolkit that can help you achieve that. And if you are joining the WaveMakers within the next 3 hours, this guide is also yours free of charge. And last but not least, you have 2 options. Basically, you can visit our website now, you can secure your spot in the program, or you can also book a free one-on-one consultation with the WaveMakers team. So Saja and Mo have cleaned up their calendars, make time for you to really figure out if the program is the right fit for you, answer any of your questions, and also discuss your unique life and work situations at the moment. So don't be shy, block their calendars, get in touch. And I'm looking at the time. We also have some more minutes. So I will also stay on the line, and the rest of the WaveMakers team as well. So you can ask us any of your questions. And I see that there is already the links in the chat. Just type your questions, anything you would like to know about imposter syndrome, my journey, Stephanie's journey, the WaveMakers program. We're here to answer any of them.
Hey there, I've already collected some questions, so I would just go straight ahead. I was wondering, what are the requirements to apply for the program?
Yeah, so the requirements to apply for the program is that you need some work experience, at least 2 years, but you do not have to be in a management position at the moment. So different mid and early career positions are usually a good fit, and most important, that you have this growth mindset, that you really want to work on yourself and also connect with amazing people from all over the world.
That's great. Thank you so much. And I see that Jennifer also wrote in the chat if the program helps with finding clarity.
Yeah, so clarity is one of the 3 main aspects. So we talk about clarity, self-awareness, and confidence. And I believe clarity is extremely important, especially when it comes to if you're envisioning a next career move, or you really want to know what to invest your energy in, right? Because as I said, you can't be everything for everyone, and you don't have to, you shouldn't be, but you have to find your own way. So the WaveMakers program is really focused on helping you achieve that and get that clarity, so you can focus on what matters to you. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. I collected another interesting question, which is a bit more focused. And it says, I've always had issues talking with people with strong personalities. Is this something that the program can help me with as well?
Yeah. Yes, so we also have a module about communications, and I do also see some connections often between, for example, the insecurities module and the communications module, right? Because sometimes we are standing also in our own way, especially if we feel intimidated. So in the communications module, we, for example, analyze also some of the power dynamics with different team members, colleagues, managers, stakeholders, and also then find out where you can double down on creating an approach to communicate effectively and also stand up for yourself.
And this whole program is online, or are there also some, can I participate from anywhere, or what are how do the lessons look like?
Yes, so the lessons, and we don't like to call them lessons because, you know, it's not the kind of university thing where you have to sit there and study. It's more an opportunity for exchange, an opportunity to go through exercises together and to learn new tools that can help you. So these sessions happen in the evenings of Central European time, which is usually very good for the European and African, Middle Eastern time zone, and also the Americas. So those the times work the best in those time zones. And it's everything online, to answer that question.
Thank you so much.
Cool. If there are any other questions, feel free to post them in the chat. Also, if there's something about imposter syndrome, something for Stephanie or myself, we're happy to share or connect with any of you on that topic as well. So don't be shy, just use the chat. I see now one question, which is for Steph. Looking at the name of your podcast, how did you find confidence to admit you didn't know what you should do with your life? It's a good one.
Should I answer this now? That's a really good question. I felt really nervous I thought the name was funny, and then I didn't think I would actually be able to call it that, because I felt it for work and professional settings, it wouldn't look good, that my boss and my colleagues would not approve of that. it took me some time to embrace it and put it out there. And I was really scared to post on LinkedIn when I was launching the podcast. It's a good question. I just kind of was like making it funny and trying to just convey the relatability of it and how it's such a taboo topic, but it's so true. And so many of us are trying to figure it out and just trying to normalize it. So it was like taking a chance for me. I was nervous to do it. And I was very nervous in a professional setting to have that be the name of the podcast. But I think it's been good. It makes people laugh. And I think that's really important because everyone can relate. It doesn't matter if you're a high up executive or wherever you are. They'll admit that they don't know what the heck they're doing, which is probably the best part of all of it. So, yeah.
I think that's really powerful. And also you kind of shaking up or removing the stigma around those topics, right, is amazing. And Steph and I, we had a conversation around that also earlier today when we were preparing for this session, because we gave it a title around imposter syndrome, and we had slightly less attendance on LinkedIn than we usually have. So we figured like, oh, maybe people didn't feel that comfortable to click attending for an event around imposter syndrome. But all of you here in the room, you were the courageous ones who made the click, who also rocked up and were part of an, hopefully inspiring session today. I love the exchange. Thanks for contributing also in the chat. Big thanks to Stephanie for sharing your story and the stories of your podcast guests. And with that, I would like to wrap it up. Thank all of you for coming, and hopefully see some of you very soon as part of our next WaveMakers program, which is kicking off on the 27th of October. So we look forward to your applications. We look forward to speaking to you. If you have any questions, you know where to find us. The links should be there, so you can bookmark them and check them out directly. And for those of you who want to make a quick decision and also secure the personal branding toolkit right away, go for it. We can't wait to see your applications, and see you very soon. Bye-bye.